అందరికీ నమస్కారం. వీక్షకులు 6వ రోజు ఈ క్లెప్ 2 ప్రోగ్రామ్కి స్వాగతం తెలియజేస్తున్నాను. ఐ వెల్కమ్ యూ ఆల్ ఫర్ డే 6 క్లెప్ 2 వెబినార్ సిరీస్ స్ట్రీమింగ్ ఆన్ ఫేస్బుక్ యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ యూట్యూబ్ లైవ్. మరి ఈ సందర్భంగా ఐ హార్టీ వెల్కమ్ మేడం Monishita Pande madam, assistant professor from Ambedkar University, New Delhi. Madam, very good to see you here again. You are most welcome, ma'am. I also welcome Pokuri Srinivas Garu to the session. Sir, I request you to introduce resource persons to viewers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ismail. Good morning, Andhra Pradesh. We have resource person here, Dr. Monishita Pande. Is faculty at Ambedkar University, Delhi, and she was a PhD in teacher education and also worked on bilingualism. She teaches courses in linguistics and English proficiency, academic writing, and language teaching. Her research interests includes classroom discourses, cross-linguistic transfer of skills, and multilingual teaching and learner anatomy. So such a versatile resource person is with us. So let us live and I welcome madam. Please continue your session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the today's topic, pedagogical aspects of transacting in English. Yeah, madam, please.
Andariki namaskaram. So I'm back today with another topic. I'll quickly share my screen and then we will get started. Right, so a warm welcome to the day 6 of our webinar series, and today's topic is pedagogical aspects for teaching in English. So these are some of the objectives for today's webinar. So by the end of the session, you will be able to understand skill-based language teaching and how we can strengthen listening, speaking, reading, and writing of our students, LSRW. You will also be able to identify the skills and sub-skills that are needed by your children, and we will also discuss how to integrate the sub-skills of LSRW and adopt an integrated approach to teaching English. Now, skill-based teaching. In skill-based teaching, one very important thing is explicit teaching. Now, what is explicit? Explicit means when, as teachers, we are very conscious that we are teaching a particular skill to our students. Many a times, our students just listen to us in class and they learn how to listen. But in skill-based teaching, we are very conscious with our pedagogical strategies that we use in the class, and the 4 macro skills: listening, L; speaking, S; reading, R; and W stands for writing. So these are the 4 macro language skills, and the teacher devises very specific strategies in the classroom to ensure that the students learn these skills. Now, in skill-based teaching, the advantage is that we are looking at the holistic development of language, the whole language. We are trying to ensure that the learners' writing, reading, and speaking and listening, all 4 skills, get formed equally well, right? Now, one very important question that we have as teachers is, we have to teach them science, maths, environmental science, EPS, history. All these things we have to do with them. So there is a lot of content that we have with us in the textbook. Lots of content. Now, but while we're teaching the content, other than information, what is our children learning? What skills are we giving them? So that we can say that yes, after 5 years of school, they will be able to do these things. So skill-based teaching also helps the teacher to understand where the learner is and how much more help the learner needs to go to the next level. When we are doing explicit teaching, that is, we are very conscious, then we also will be able to help our children to practice some specific skills. We will be able to assess them for those things that we are teaching them, and most importantly, reflect together as a class what skills we have learned. Moving on to the next slide. A strong skill-based instruction is based on 4 elements. The first, which I've already discussed, is explicit teaching. The second is clear objectives. In skill-based teaching, you cannot just do something in the class without being conscious. You need to tie up your lesson plan with specific objectives and specific skills. So the skill, the material, and the objectives, they have to be clear in the head of the teacher. The next is scaffold for learning. We have already discussed the concept of scaffolding in the last webinar, where we talked about this theory of social cultural learning. So scaffolding is the need, the help, the support that we give to our students just so that they can complete the task. Not too much of help, not little help, or no help, but strategic scaffold means just what the students need to go to the next level of learning. And finally, in skill-based teaching, the mantra is practice. You have to see to it that when you teach one skill in the first lesson, how you will continue to create opportunities in the classroom so that students get to practice that skill again and again and again. So practice, practice, and practice is the mantra. Practice with the teacher, practice within the students. So you have to consciously bring back certain activities and tasks in the classroom so that you know that they are continuously.
Madam, kindly enhance yours.
Now, we are going to now discuss the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So now we are going to talk about developing listening and speaking. Am I audible now? Is it better?
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Yes? Okay.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So now, why do we need to be conscious as teachers that listening and speaking, they are very different skills than reading and writing? First point is that spoken language is very different from written text, right? The way we speak is very different from the way we write. And therefore, for us to be conscious as teachers that when we are teaching students listening and speaking, they use a different kind of language, and when they are writing and reading, they are getting exposed to a different kind of language. Another point that we need to keep in mind is extensive listening versus intensive listening. Now, what is the difference between extensive and intensive? Extensive listening is when our students are just listening without any specific task to do. Okay, so most of the time in the class, they are listening to us, they are just going on listening to us. We are not expecting them to say something, for example, they're just listening without any specific thing to do. That is extensive listening. Whereas intensive listening is when the students have a very specific purpose for listening. They have to listen and they have to do some tasks. That is intensive listening. Now, in the classroom, if we want our students to have good listening and speaking abilities in English, then we have to create opportunities for authentic communication. What is authentic communication? Authentic means real life, right? So we have to create situations where students can imagine that they are actually in the real life situation, and then they use language. Okay, so if I tell them, imagine that you are writing a letter to the newspaper editor, then you create a real life context that they are actually interacting with the newspaper editor, right? So this is just an example to say that we need to bring real life situations in our classrooms so that language practice can happen better. Another important point for speaking especially is negotiated interaction. Now negotiate, this is something that I had discussed in the last webinar also. When two students talk to each other about a real problem, then they negotiate. Negotiate means I say something, you agree or you disagree, then you give your opinion, then we have some discussion. That is negotiation. If we don't negotiate in the classroom, then learning will not happen adequately. Okay, so I'm just giving you an example of negotiated interaction. If I ask my students to ask each other, what is your father's name? What is your mother's name? There is no scope of negotiation, because I will tell my father's name, you will tell your father's name, the conversation will end, right? But if I ask, who is the favorite member of the family? So when I ask who is your favorite member and why, that can lead to negotiation. You can say, my favorite member in the family is my mother. Then I say, why is it mother? Why not father? Then you have to say, because mother does this, father does that. So that is negotiation. But if I simply ask, what is your mother's name? You will tell me the name and the interaction will end. So we have to see that we give questions in the class, we give tasks in the class where students can negotiate. Or another example is, if I ask, how many siblings do you have? How many brothers, sisters do you have? Students will say 2, 3, 4. No negotiation. The conversation will end. But if I ask, do you like your position in the family? Do you like to be the youngest in the family? Why? Are you happy that you are the older child? Why? If I ask these kind of questions, then there will be negotiation. The child will say yes, no, give argument, give reason, talk about his or her experience, right? So there is sharing of genuine experience. So we have to see how we can ask questions in the class, how we can give activities to our students where there is negotiated interaction, not just fact-based interaction. Now, how do we develop listening and speaking strategies? By focusing on sub-skills. So these macro skills, LSRW, can be broken down into micro skills, sub-skills. Moving on to the next slide. Here are some more pedagogical strategies that we can keep in mind while developing listening and speaking. Most of the time, for listening, our students do not get a variety of texts. Oral texts. Oral means listening texts. Most of the time, they only listen to what we say in the class or from the textbook when we read things to them. We need to consciously think how we can expose our students to a variety of oral texts. If they listen to songs, if they watch some videos, if they advertisements, commercials, if they listen to conversations, dialogues, public speeches, then what are we doing as teachers? We are giving them a variety of oral text. Oral means listening texts. The more and more different kinds of texts students listen to, they are going to be able to speak better, because they will be able to understand how different texts, listening texts, have different ways of using language. The next point is creating a purpose for listening. This is very, very important. Many of the time as teachers, we forget to tell our students why they are listening. We just speak, they listen, and then we give them some questions to answer. But before they listen to something, if we set a purpose, if we give them a goal, an objective, then they can listen with an intention. They can listen with a reason.
Monishita ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Madam.
Yes, sir.
Madam.
Hello.
Yeah, 1 second, ma'am.
Hello?
Yeah, 1 second, please.
Yes.
There is some audio related. Need to do some settings.
Hello.
Yeah, please pause your presentation for 1 second, ma'am.
Okay. Should I stop screen share?
Yeah, no, yeah, no need, ma'am.
Yes, you're audible, sir. Yes. Okay. So, should I continue? Yes. Okay. So, creating a purpose for listening is a very important strategy that teachers can use in class. So, before they listen to a story, you need to tell them why they are listening to the story. You have to give them some activities so that while listening, they have a clear purpose. For example, suppose I'm reading a student, as you listen to the story, uh, identify the adjectives or how many characters are there, what relationship do the characters have in the story, for example. So when I give them a purpose for the listening, the reason why they are listening, then your activity or task will have better outcome. Another important strategy that we need to train our students in is note making. While listening, they also need to take down some notes. So if you give them a purpose, then they will know what notes they have to make, right? Another important thing is information gap activities for speaking. Now, in speaking, if you want your students to practice speaking in a useful manner, there has to be gap of information. If I already know what my friend is going to tell, then there is no excitement or there is no real life communication. Therefore, the questions that I give to talk about should have some gap in information. For example, already if I know your name and if I ask you what is your name, then there is no excitement in communicating. But if I ask you something about which I don't know, then there will be real interest in talking. So we also have to see that students, when they are interacting, there is a real purpose for interaction. Like they can create a questionnaire and ask questions to each other. They can interview each other. They can be part of some informal discussions on topics that are interesting to the students. They can come together and write dialogues, and then they can come and present it to class. They can also do role plays. Role plays are when you give specific roles to students and then they come and enact something. For example, doctor and patient, or uh, mother and child, teacher and student. Okay, these are different roles that you can give them, right? So these are some activities that you can try in the class, and you can see that there is actual information gap between the two or three students, and they are interacting in a real life situation. Now, the material that we shared with you before the webinar, that material has a handout with it, which is called the skill handout. I have taken this from David Noonan's book, Task-Based Language Teaching, and I find this handout very useful as a teacher, so I thought of sharing with you. What David Noonan does is he tries to break down each of the skills, LSRW, to sub-skills. And he has graded the skills. Graded means from simple to complex. So it has 7 levels. Level 1 is simple. Level 7 is very complex. As teachers, if we know what are the levels of these skills, then we can take decisions in the classroom. We can understand where our students are. Otherwise, as English teachers, we get very frustrated. We think our students don't know anything. They are lagging behind. They can't speak. They are not able to write. We get very frustrated. We don't know where to start, where to go. But if you look at these levels, then you will be able to identify that, okay, these many students are able to do level 1 things. These students are able to do level 2. Now, from level 1 to 2, they can help each other and move forward. So, therefore, I have shared that skill sheet with you. In the slides, of course, I can't include everything, but I have just taken some sub-skills from each level to show you the progression. So if you the slide here, students are able to differentiate between English, and Telugu. So if you Telugu and people speak in English, they can say which is what language, so they are in level 1. That is also something that English do. And then take them to the level where they need help to go, right? Rather than getting worried, thing in the first level of listening is when you give them descriptions, then students can identify if I talk about the phone, okay, I describe the phone to find out where the phone is in the class. That is fine. They don't have to talk at this level. They're only listening and they are identifying non-verbally. Non-verbal means they are just showing you the object. They are not speaking. That is totally fine. As teachers, we also get worried why our students are not talking. It's okay. If a student is in level 1, he is only listening and he is identifying. Now, as we move forward in level 2, we can see that the infer means not factual answer, but understanding the tone of the voice, the narrative. You give a story, they can understand the main idea, right? So from level 1 to level 3, you can see the skills are becoming more complex. So if you travel, then exactly where. If you remember in the last webinar, we talked about uh, uh, mixed approach, right? We said that we have to decode. Decode means the letter and the sound, how they are connecting in the language. We have to teach that decoding, but we also have to focus on meaning, whole language. So this is one important thing as teachers we need to keep experimenting with. That when they are reading a text, we don't only focus on letter sound, but we also create a genuine interest in the meaning of what they are reading. Now, before our students read anything, it is very important to activate their prior knowledge about what they are reading. There is nothing in this world about which we cannot share our experience. Okay, for example, suppose we are going to read a text on space travel. Now you can say, ma'am, I have never traveled to space. I don't know anything about space travel. But we can ignite our imagination about space travel. We can uh, trigger discussion on our experiences and then read a text. So it's very important that we experiences and knowledge of our learners before they read anything. Also predicting contents. So before they read, they look very powerful tool in reading. It helps what's coming in the text. Guessing meaning of unfamiliar words. When a word is coming which is difficult in the text and students don't know, most of the time we teachers just tell them the meaning. But research has shown that when we just tell the meaning to the student, they don't learn it. They have to guess the meaning. They have to get cues about the meaning, and they have to struggle with it. They have to make mistakes, and then they learn the word meaning. Then it stays with them. Reading text in multiple languages. Like we have discussed in the last webinar, we have to develop multilingual capabilities. So if your student is weak in reading English, but the student is very good in reading Telugu, then also it is okay. You should not feel nervous about it or worried about it, because when students have good reading ability in any language, they can use it while they're reading other language at the subconscious level. So you just encourage your students to read even outside class in any language that they are comfortable with. So again, coming to the idea of intensive and extensive reading. Intensive reading is when students read a small text in class and they do some activities, and we teach them something specific to the text. And extensive reading is when they read for pleasure. They choose their own thing and they read on their own without any homework or task. So we have to see how we can encourage our learners to do both of these. Now here are some sub skills of reading. So we can again see that in level 1, students can decode the sound and symbol connection, and as they move forward, they are able to do more difficult things with the text. For example, interpret information. They read a text and they put it in a table format. This is a much complex skill. Or they read something and they infer the meaning. So hidden meanings in the text they are able to do. So gradually students are moving from level 1 to level 3, then 4, 5, 6. So please take a look at these sub skills and the levels. Then you will be able to match them with your tasks and activities, and you will be able to see where your students are, and you can handhold them and take them to the next level. Now comes the most difficult skill, writing. Right? Writing is the most difficult thing for second language learners. Why is it so? Because other than uh, uh, learning how to put together their ideas, organize, they also have to learn a new script, right? The Telugu script, for example, is very different from the Roman script of English. And English poses a greater challenge than other languages, other Indian languages, because by nature, English does not necessarily have one to one correspondence between letter and sound. So as we know, the number of sounds in English is 44. Number of letters is much lesser, right? So each letter does not correspond to one sound. There can be multiple sounds which one letter connects with. So because of this nature of English language, spelling becomes a big challenge for us. So instead of punishing our students for wrong spelling, or instead of getting worried, it is important for us as teachers to understand that students will take time, students will make mistake with spellings. If we want to help them with spellings, we have to see that students are able to read now. If there are say 10 words you want your students to write properly, then you have to again and again take them through reading texts where those words reappear. So it is your responsibility to see that if there are 5 words: grandfather, grandmother, mother, father, brother, sister, 6 words I want my students to write perfectly, then I have to, every 2 3 days I have to read a text to them, show them the text where these words are coming again and again. Only when we look, when we see these words, then the images get captured in our brain, and then gradually we become comfortable with some spellings, right? So we need to see how we can create the opportunity to reinforce some letters, words again and again where our students are making mistakes, right? Then comes different genre of writing. So writing can also be of different types, right? For example, story is a genre, poem is a different genre, a newspaper article is very different from a story, right? An advertisement commercial is very different from a newspaper article. Slogans, one sentence slogans. So we can create opportunity for our students to experience different genre of writing. Okay, so you can create a real life activity. You can say that, okay, you have the local minister coming to your village, you want to talk about some positive change that has happened in your district. So come up with positive slogans to motivate people to work harder. So then slogan writing becomes an activity of writing class, but it has a real life implication. So we have to experience, make our students experience different types of writing, not just stories and poems. Another important thing in writing classroom is contextualize the writing. You have to connect the writing with a real life context. So rather than just telling them that write about your family, you can tell them that they have a personal diary. In that personal diary, they are actually talking about their life, and their family becomes part of their diary writing. So the moment I create the genre of diary writing, and then I ask them to write about their family, then I have contextualized it. I have given a genre to the writing. I've given a context that they are talking about their personal diaries, right? So personalizing writing, they get a purpose and they connect with the writing, and that's when the writing becomes more meaningful. Here are some strategies that we can use in the classroom while teaching writing. Okay, like I had mentioned in the last webinar, we need to take our students through the process of writing. Most of the time in the class, what happens is we give writing as homework. Yeah, we teach them something, then we give a question and say write and bring back. In this kind of a strategy, the problem is that the student is not able to go through the process. The student is only writing and you are checking. But if we do the writing together in class, then we can take the students through the pre-writing, during writing, and post-writing. So in the pre-writing, what do? They can sit in groups, which is called the cooperative work. Cooperative writing. In pre-writing, we can brainstorm, we can talk to each other, we can draw, we can paint about the topic, we can get all our ideas out. We can use mother tongue or other languages, and we can think of our experiences and we can bring everything on the table. And then we can encourage our students to put together the sentences, words. We can give them help. We can do guided writing. Where they have less language, we can give them a model text. We give them a model text, they take words from there and then they write their own paragraph. After they've written the first paragraph, they need to share with each other and take feedback. They need to share with the class and take feedback. So at least two drafts students should be encouraged to write, so that they understand that writing does not happen just suddenly. It takes time. And finally, we need to remember that writing is also a self-discovery process with cognitive writing tasks. And also develop a writing habit. How can I develop a writing habit? For example, I can tell my students that every week they can write 2-3 sentences about the most interesting class they had, and 2-3 sentences about the worst class they had. So just this much every week, if our students think, reflect, and say that this topic I like the most, this class I didn't like, and one reason why. This can just become part of their every week writing and reflecting. So you can have these specific tasks inbuilt into your 4-month lesson plan, which they are doing every day. And then you can have a discussion in the class at the end of the month, that what were the lessons which they loved, what are the lessons which they didn't remember, etc. Now again, these are the sub skills of writing. As you can see, in level 1, students are only expected to copy nicely, that's all. And finally, in level 3, they are able to write paragraphs. They are able to move from guided writing to free writing. So in guided writing, you give them words, structures, sentences. In free writing, they're able to gradually do on their own. So there is a gradation from simple to complex. You can see where your students are and then you can match your activities. So what do we recommend in this webinar? We recommend an integrated skill approach to teaching of English. Now, in day-to-day communication, we are not doing only speaking or only listening. We are not doing only writing or reading. Everything, LSRW, can happen together. They come together. That is real life communication. Therefore, in your class and tasks also, we highly recommend that you take an integrated approach to skill teaching. Integrated approach means that when you plan your lesson, you not only have speaking, you can have a focus skill. So I planned that in today's class, out of 30 minutes, my students will do speaking for 15 minutes. But the rest of the 15 minutes will prepare them to speak. So before a speaking task, they can read, they can write, and then they can get ready for the speaking. So all these LSRW, the skills have to come together in the tasks with some skill under focus, but other skills also need to help them to perform the main task. So the moment we take an integrated approach to skill building, we are talking about whole language, where communication is the goal. And there are two types of integrated skill instruction. One is called content-based language learning, and the second is called task-based language learning. In content-based language learning, what we do is, even in an EVS class, we can teach language. Even in a science lesson, we teach language. So language teaching happens throughout the content or curriculum. Okay, it's not that only in English lesson we focus on language, but even in science lesson we can. For example, in a class 1 science book, you might find the topic materials. Materials like elastic, wood, metal, silver, gold. They learn about materials, right? So you can, when they're learning about materials, you can also talk about adjectives like hard, soft, etc. You can give them materials and you can ask them to make something with it, right? You can ask them to describe an object. You can bring a block of uh, wood. You can bring an elastic. You can bring different objects of different material. You can give it to students, ask them to choose one object and write 3 sentences describing the object. So when they're describing the object, that is nothing but language. That's the level 2 language that they need to write, describing objects. So you're connecting your science lesson with your English language skill, right? So this is how we can integrate the content with the language. Now, task-based language instruction is when students are given real-life tasks and they have to do it. For example, I can give them a task that uh, go and interview class 5 grade students can go and interview class 2 students about the problems they are facing in school. So this is a task. They have to come back and tell the class what are the problems that class 2 students are facing while reading and writing. Okay, are they feeling confident, are they not? So real life tasks are given and students have to perform those tasks. Or even in class we can give them some tasks that in 30 minutes you will have to find you give them a problem to solve and they together come up with a solution. That is again task based, right? So through content based and task based we can highly integrate the teaching of language and teaching of other subjects in our classes. Now, these are some activities, like if we say that let us come up with a class newspaper, and as we make small teams, one team will write articles, one team will edit the articles, one team will come together, put it in a chart paper and create these write-ups and put it up in the class. So you divide the class into different teams and ask them to work towards a class newspaper. This is again an integrated approach because they can write about anything. They can write about environmental issue, they can write about social issue. So different things in the curriculum come together, and it's collaborative learning also. They're also listening, speaking, reading, writing, everything together. Another activity we can try out is developing a TV or radio commercial, right? So they can get into small groups and they can think of a product that they want to promote or market, and then they can come up with a 2-minute radio commercial, right? So this is again group learning, and listening, speaking, reading, writing are coming together. Then another can be from a play. If there is already a play available, they can come and enact it, or they can write their own little plays. If you have very creative students, they can use multiple languages and come up with a play, maybe one play in the whole year. They can do that. Or cooperative learning, where they work together as a community. They go out of the school and they interact with the other members in the village, and they work together through project based learning. Project based learning I have again discussed in the previous webinar. It is also a very, very useful activity to try when you want to integrate skills. Researching, discussing, writing, speaking, reporting, everything comes together in project based learning. So these are some of the ideas related to integrated skills approach, where environmental science, language, history, and LSRW, so the skills and the content can come together. Now, I would like to take you through a very small little demo lesson. This chapter is from class 3 EVS lesson, and I know you may not be able to read what is written there because the script is small, but I will take you through the lesson, and maybe you will be able to get some ideas from it and compare it with your own strategies, and see what you can take from it. Hello, good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you today?
We are fine.
How are you feeling today?
We are feeling great.
Great. Okay. Now, today we are going to talk about family.
Okay.
Yes. Now we all live with our families, right?
Yes.
Now, why do we need family?
We need family to keep us safe and
Safe. Okay. To keep us safe, give us support. Why else do we need family?
Love. Because love.
Love, because
And
of
care.
love and care. Yes, very good. So family is very important in our life. You know, what we are is determined by what kind of family we have. So family has a lot of effect on who we are. Okay. Now tell me, what kind of family do you have?
We have a very happy and a nice family.
You have a happy and nice family. What about you?
We have a wonderful and kind
Wonderful family. Kind family. Very nice. Kind, nice, lovely, wonderful, amazing. I also have a very nice family. Okay, very good. Now, who all are there in our families?
In my family, there are 4 members. My mother, my father,
Mother, father. Okay, who else?
my brother, and myself.
Brother and sister. Okay. Who else are there in your family?
There are my cousins and my dad.
Dadu. Dadu. Who is Dadu? How do you say Dadu in English?
Grandfather.
Grandfather. Now you have Dadu from Mama's side and Dadu from Papa's side. So grandfather from father's side is called paternal grandfather.
Paternal.
Say paternal.
Paternal.
Very good.
grandfather.
And from mother's side?
Maternal.
Maternal. Okay. Now look at this picture. We are going to today we are going to read about Rani's family, right? Just like you told me about your family, Rani is talking about her family. Now see this picture and tell me, what do you see in this picture?
I see Rani showing her album to Razia.
Is that an album? Are you sure?
Yes, because it has pictures in it.
But it can be something else also.
Okay, it could be a game.
It could be a game also, yeah. And who is the other girl? Her name is Razia. Now, Razia and Rani, what relationship do they have?
It could be a friend.
Friend. What else?
Sister.
Could be her sister. We don't know. Could be friend. Could be sister.
Could be cousin.
Could be a cousin. Very good. Okay. We don't know what relationship they have. Okay. Now, I'll give you 5 minutes. Okay. Get into pairs and 2 people together. I want you to read this little story about Rani. Okay. Rani is a small girl like you, Ahiri, and she is 9 years old. She lives in the nearby village, and Rani is, she is talking to this person in the picture about her family. So with Sham, both of you together read it, and you have to answer 2 questions. The first question is, how many members are there in Razia and Rani's family, and what do they say about their family? Are they happy? Are they sad? are they complaining about their family? What are they doing? Okay.
Okay. I'm Rani.
Yeah, both of you together. You are Razia, you are Rani. Read it on your own.
This is my family photo.
Okay, very good. So, how many members are there in Rani's family?
There are 4 members.
Okay, 4. And in Razia's? 3 members, right? Okay, very good. Now, what does Rani say about her family? Is she happy about her family or sad?
She says happy.
Happy. Okay, nice. Now, do you see these fill in the blanks here?
Yes.
Yeah, I want you to form questions so that you get answers for these fill in the blanks from your friend. What question will you ask for the first one?
What's your father's name?
Krishna.
Krishna and Shashmal.
Okay, so the question for the first one is, what is your father's name? Next one, how will you ask for the next one?
What's your mother's name?
What's your mother's name?
My mother's name is Ipshita Hajra Shashmal.
Okay. For the next one, what question will you make?
How many siblings do you have? 1.
What is sibling?
Sibling means a sister or brother who is close.
Sister or brother. Okay. Are cousins also siblings?
No.
No. Siblings are only from your core family, right? Okay. So, sibling can be brother also, sister also. Okay. Now, how will you ask about siblings?
How many siblings do you have? 1.
Okay. Very good. Next one. What question will you ask?
How
many
members
members?
there are in your family? 3.
3. What about you?
Me. I have 4 members in my family.
Okay, very good. Now, we all have siblings, is it?
Yes.
All of us have siblings?
Yes. I'm his sister.
Okay. So everybody has brother or sister?
Yes.
Anybody who does not have a brother or sister? Okay. Some of you are single child. Okay. So how many of you are eldest in the family? Raise your hand. Oh, many people. And how many of you are youngest in the family? Okay, very good. And how many of you are middle in the family? Middle position? Okay. And how many of you are alone? Single? Okay. Now I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You have to talk to each other and you have to discuss. Do you like the position that you have in your family?
Yes.
Yes or
I
no,
do.
and why? If you say yes, I like my position, you have to say why. If you say no, then you have to say why you don't like.
I like my position.
You talk with Sham. Yeah.
I like my position in my family because I get to help you.
Sham, do you like your position in the family? Discuss with her.
No.
You don't like. Why?
Because you're small. But
You are small. So what happens? Why you don't like?
I have to listen.
You have to always listen to your sister. And
you hit me.
Shyam, tell me, why your position in the family?
I don't get to do the things that I don't get to teach you.
She bans you, no, from your room. Okay, fine. Now look at these words here: fathers and mothers. What is this? This thing here? This comma?
Apostrophe S.
Apostrophe. Now, what does this mean? Father's name. This father's. What does it mean?
It means your father's something. It can be father's name, father's house, father's
Father's house, father's name. Okay, how will you say it in Hindi? What is
Ka. It would be आपका your
Mere?
मेरे पापा का नाम.
Exactly. So like in Hindi we say mere papa ka naam. Like that in English we say my father's name. Right? Okay. Now I'm going to give you these buttons and matchsticks. Sit together. Draw your family tree. Okay. Draw your family using these buttons and matchsticks. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Now let's look at this picture. Look at this picture. What do you see in this picture?
In this picture, there's a family working together.
Family working together. Now, who is cooking?
Mother.
Mother is cooking. And what is father doing?
He's cutting
wood. Cutting wood. Now, is it possible that mama is cutting wood and father is cooking?
No.
Why is it not possible?
Because I don't know.
Why? Father also has hands, no? Father can also cook. Mama also has hands. She can also. Why? Why only mothers cook and fathers cut?
It is possible.
It is possible, okay.
But it nobody does it.
Nobody does it. Why is it like this?
I don't know.
Does your father cook?
Yes.
Then why are you saying it's not possible?
But my mother never cuts wood.
But mother doesn't cut. Cut wood means going out and doing work. It's okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so there are some roles that mothers have. There are some roles that fathers have. But these roles we can also share, no? We can also share the roles. Yes or no?
Yes.
In the house, we can share, no? The roles?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So, the rest of this we will do in next class. Okay? Today we have discussed our family.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so here we had an EVS lesson, and you could see that although it was an EVS lesson, constantly we were focusing on language. We were focusing on adjectives, we were focusing on the apostrophe, that is the writing of it. We were focusing on asking questions which can generate discussion, like do you like the position that you have in your family? Can mothers take up father's role? Can fathers take up mother's role? So you are questioning gender roles in the house, right? So even with small children we can ask questions like this, even in an EVS lesson, to talk about language and skill building and critical thinking and inferential thinking, and all of this can be integrated in a 5 to 6 minute lesson also. So with that I come to the conclusion of the webinar. So in today's webinar, we have discussed explicit teaching of LSRW. As teachers, we need to be conscious that when are we teaching them listening, when are we teaching them speaking, what are we doing in class when we are focusing on a text, how we are using their prior knowledge. So in the model lesson also you saw, before going to Rani's family, we spent a lot of time talking about their children's own families and what families give them, connecting the emotional bond with family, like love, support, care. And then we talked about Rani. Before reading Rani's family, they looked at the text. They saw that it's a conversation. They looked at the picture. Yeah. So spending time and taking them through the process always helps in interaction and also for learning. We also discussed the graded nature of skills. So level 1 to level 7. Level 1 are the easiest or the low level skills that we need to develop, and then from simple we go to complex skills. So as teachers, if we map our tasks, for example, the task we did in the EVS lesson, this is a level 2 skill where they are describing, they are talking about family, they're talking about self and family members. All these things come in the level 2 category of speaking. So if I put my model lesson in the sub skill category of speaking, it is level 2 speaking, oral interaction. Then the next point we mentioned was integrated approach to skill. So when they are doing speaking task, before that they're reading something. After reading, they can do some writing. So you can mix these things together in a 30-minute lesson. And finally, we talked about CBLL, content based language learning, and TBLT, task based language teaching. So content based language learning is when we use environmental science, science lesson, maths lesson, all these lessons. During the teaching of those content also, we consciously train our students to read better, write better, think about words, think about grammar or structures, right? So that is content based language learning. And task based language learning, when they do real life tasks or they mimic real life communication in class to achieve certain goals.
Yeah, I welcome Vetrisalvi Madam, IAS officer, to our session. Madam, warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I am live.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, thank you very much. I was just watching amidst the office work. I was just watching your demo sessions. Yeah, thank you very much, Ismail and Shrivas. Thank you very much, ma'am. I was just watching your EVS lesson, as I am also a science student, and we have put a lot of effort in this EVS book. So I was reading some comments. Thank you very much for the session. In fact, this is what our teachers have been asking for a very long time. So lesson how to demonstrate, how to transact that particular lesson in the classroom in English or in the mother tongue. So what are the technologies we have to use, techniques we have to use in the classroom is what a lot of teachers were asking. So I think today that demand has been fulfilled. So I could say a lot of comments praising that, yes, this is what we wanted. Please give me more demo such classes. So this is what the opinions are coming. Thank you very much for the session, ma'am. So I just want to address a few of the queries. So we understand that the textbook PPT which was showed is not very clear to the teacher. సో ఇప్పుడు మనకి ఇది కొత్త టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ అని ఏ లెసన్ మేడం డెమాన్స్ట్రేట్ చేశారో ఆ లెసన్ ని అభ్యాస యాప్ లో వి విల్ పోస్ట్ ఇట్ అండ్ వి విల్ పుట్ ఇట్ అక్రాస్ all the other forums so that everybody can see what exactly how our lessons are coming. So అది మీ అందరికీ చూపిస్తాము and we will since the response is very good based lesson based transaction demo classes, everybody is liking it, so we will use a lot more. So EVS, mathematics and all those subjects and English also. So we will try to show all these things to in the demo classes and the sessions to all our teachers. So teacher community, thank you very much for your response. కొంతమంది పేరుకు నచ్చింది, కొంతమంది పేరుకు నచ్చలేదు, కొంతమంది పేరుకు ఎందుకు హింసపడుతున్నారు అడిగి ఉన్నారు. దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ ద వే టు ట్రైన్ అని చెప్పి ఉన్నారు. సో రైట్ నౌ దిస్ ఇస్ ద ఓన్లీ వే వి ఫౌండ్ టు గివ్ యూ ట్రైనింగ్. సో అందుకే చేస్తున్నాము. అండ్ యాజ్ యూ సెడ్ టీచర్స్ అందరూ అడిగినట్టు we will use the sample lessons, we will use our new textbook lessons, at least the first 2 chapters of every lessons we will try to incorporate as example, and then we will ensure that you know how to transact lesson before this. So this is the first live demo. Since everybody liked it, we will follow the same thing, and we will try to introduce all the new textbook first 2 chapters in all these books: mathematics, EVS, science, social, and English also, of course. So thank you very much, ma'am, and thank you, audience. So teachers, so I take the good feedbacks, and if there is any negative feedbacks and bad reviews, we will take that also, and we will try to improvise if mistake is from our side. మీ అందరికీ తెలుసా, every teacher, every resource person is sitting somewhere else. So based on your network, their network, our network, and our CRT network, there might be some glitches in between. So we apologize for that and we'll try to rectify it. And thank you for all your support and cooperation. Thank you. And please do follow the SCRT Facebook page, which we have made it active. So andru dantlo add cheskondi memberly, maximum 5,000 members can be added. So I am also personally observing it. Any updates, any discussions can happen there. YouTube channel lo, when there is live lesson going on, everybody started commenting there, good morning, I have this doubt, I have this doubt. So rather I will post a link there. In the discussion, you discuss what are your doubts, how to, some teacher might have the answer, some teacher may know have a doubt. So you can discuss there in that SCRT page. That is why YouTube channel kante you discuss there and మీ అందరికి చెప్పడం జరిగింది. Thank you very much. Thank you for your positive response, and thank you, ma'am. This strategy has worked out, so I could see a lot of good comments in the YouTube chats. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you so much. There are few questions, ma'am. One thing, how many sub skills in language asked by Madan SB? Madana SB.
Okay. Now, the four macro skills are LSRW4, and each of these macro skills are divided into sub skills. Now, how many? There are different researchers, there are different scholars who give their own, breakdown of sub skills. I have suggested David Noonan's macro skill graded sheet, which has 7 levels, level 1 to level 7, and each level has 5 to 6 subskills. So you can see then how many are there. But if you look at the level 1 skills, you will know that they're very simple. Like in writing, students can only copy, write with proper legibly. So that's simple. Then gradually complex sentences are coming. So David Noonan's framework has 7 levels. But like I said, different researchers and scholars, they give different uh, description of subskills. I find Noonan's very useful. I use it for my own materials writing, curriculum, teaching. Therefore, I shared it with you. But there is no absolute answer to this. It differs from one framework, one curriculum to another curriculum.
Yeah, we have another SRP from Kadapa. Jyotirlya ma'am. Hello, Jyotirlya
Yes.
ma'am. Hello, Jyotirlya ma'am. You can speak now. Jyotirlya ma'am from Kadapa. Okay. Meanwhile, I have one more question, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Gudala Sudhakar Kumar, Santa Cavity, Srikakulam. He is asking that is it necessary to practice cursive writing to our students at this age?
Yeah. So cursive writing, again, if you take a look at David Noonan's skill sheet, cursive writing comes in level 2 or level 3. That students should be able to write in cursive. So it has to come. But again, like I said, don't push your children. It is possible that in your class, some students are ready to take cursive writing, some students are not. So remember, we had discussed Piaget's theory and Vygotski's theory. We need to understand their current level and only take them to the next level when they're ready. So cursive writing is important. It is level 2 skill, but it's not a level 1 skill. So in the level 1, if your child is in level 1 and he or she is only writing letters, don't push, let them be comfortable. Then they can sit with enabled peers, somebody who has already started doing cursive, then they can sit together and do it. So see when they are ready, and the whole class, don't expect all of them to be ready at the same time. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So rather than judging your children and thinking, oh, this children is dumb, slow, this children is fast, good, let us not brand our children. Let us give them that discovery place, where they can take their own sweet time and come to cursive writing. So peer learning can really help. Like in my house, I have two children. One is 8 years, the other is 6.5. So the 6.5 is gradually starting cursive. He's not so good, but the 8-year-old is becoming better. So I put them together and they teach each other and help. So the same thing you can do in your school. If you're the only teacher and you have a mixed group, class 1 to 4 together or 1 to 3 together, you take class, then also you can do a lot of peer learning and collaborative learning. So
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. Nice answer. Really. Yeah,
One more
Jyotirlya
question,
ma'am. Yes.
Ismail, ma'am, there is a participant called GGS Nagesrao, died Vishakhapatnam. What he asks is that I think text written using code switching strategy, which is using more than one language naturally at idea level, or a sentence level, which is using to minimize the translation. That's what he asked, ma'am.
okay, now in primary classrooms specifically, I would like to say that translanguaging, which is what you have mentioned, code switching and code mixing, this happens and it is natural to happen. Let us not try to stop it. because naturally we are multilinguals and we are constantly and it is totally fine to embrace it. In fact, in my class, I even allow my students to mix code in writing. The first draft that my students write, I allow them to use their mother tongue in the writing also. That is not final draft, that is okay, but the first draft they are thinking in their own language, they are thinking of words in their own language. It's totally fine. They come up with a draft and then we work together and we give them the words that they need in English, and then they gradually move towards a fully English written paragraph. So it is totally fine if you're code mixing and code switching in the classroom, because that's very natural in a multilingual classroom. In fact, I would really want to see some teachers from Andhra Pradesh to do some action research projects from your own classroom and see how this code switching and code mixing is happening in your class, because it is happening. And what are the advantages of it, what are the problems of it, and what are the words that we are code switching? Are they adjectives, are they verbs, are they nouns? How is it helping our students, how is it helping us as teachers? We can come up with small little action research projects, we can do it together, and then we can create more knowledge around it, because I think the teachers are the ones who are able to see what is happening in the class, and it's high time that we start documenting our practices, we start systematically looking at our classrooms, and then also share our research outcome. When I say research, it doesn't have to scare us, you know. Research also means like I have to go to Vishakhapatnam, I need to decide which flight is good for me. I'm doing a research. I go and compare which flight is better. Should I take Air India or SpiceJet? That is also research. So let us not think that research is a very scary word. Oh God, how can I do research? We are doing research all the time. Every day we are doing different kind of research in our head. Going back to your question, code switching, code mixing, translanguaging, multiple languages being used together in the classroom. This is very natural in a multilingual setting, and we should not feel shy from it. We should not feel guilty. Instead, we should take up small little uh, 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 projects for us, for our professional development, and we should record it, and then we should see what is happening. We should ask our students what do they feel about code switching, code mixing. We can see over a period of time how they are moving away from code switching, etc., etc., right? So these kind of projects can be taken up to understand these situations better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah. Pokari sir, is there any questions from your side? Jyotirlaya madam is online, but she's unable to connect.
One thing I had to tell. Okay. Dear participants, just now Vetsalu madam informed that all the test weeks will be shared with you by end of this month. That's what madam told. And another thing is that the persons who filled the Google form who are unable to log in, they told that all the amendments, all those were being solved and they can try now, including these municipal schools and aided and unaided also. So there were just only 1,200 teachers whose treasury IDs are wrong. So they sent back. So I will check it once again and I will correct it and send that. So totally 49,000 teachers filled that. So approximately 47,800 credentials was created. So now you can try with your treasury ID and password APC at the rate of 123. So while trying, if there is a 0 in the front, remove, try. So then it works that. That's all. Okay, Ismail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. కొన్ని అంశాలు ఉన్నాయి మనం గమనించాల్సింది. యూట్యూబ్ లైవ్ మేము టెలికాస్ట్ చేసేటప్పుడు వీ హ్యావ్ అవర్ ఓన్ మానిటరింగ్ సిస్టమ్. విల్ చెక్ వెదర్ ద వాయిస్ ఈస్ క్లియర్ ఆర్ నాట్. ఆల్ దిస్ థింగ్స్ సమ్టైమ్స్ డ్యూ టు ఇష్యూస్ ఆర్ దేర్, వీ యాక్సెప్ట్ దట్ అండ్ వీ అపాలజైజ్ ఫర్ దట్ ఆల్సో. కానీ యూ డోంట్ ఓవర్లోడ్ కామెంట్ సెషన్ విత్ సౌండ్ వాయిస్, ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్. మాకు దగ్గర మానిటరింగ్ ఉంటుంది, వీ లుక్ ఆఫ్టర్ అండ్ కరెక్ట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. దెన్ ఈ లాక్డౌన్ వేళ చాలా కష్టంగా ఉంది. ఒక్క ఆడియో ఎక్విప్మెంట్ కానీ ఇంకోటి కొనాలన్నది వెళ్ళి తీసుకోవాలంటే వీ హ్యావ్ ఆల్ ది పర్మిషన్ టు గెట్ వాట్ ఎవర్ వీ వాంట్, బట్ సో దీస్ డివైజెస్ ఆర్ నాట్ అవైలబుల్ విత్ us right now in the market. So ఇలాంటి ఇబ్బంది కలుగుతోంది. ఇక క్వాలిటీ విషయానికి వచ్చినట్టయితే చాలా టెక్నికల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ మీరు పోస్ట్ చేస్తున్న వాటిలో అది మీ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్లో ఉన్నాయి. కొన్ని క్వాలిటీ అంటే లెటర్స్ ఆర్ నాట్ విజిబుల్ అని అంటున్నారు. మీ దగ్గర వీడియో క్వాలిటీ సెట్టింగ్స్ ఉంటాయి, అది ఆటోలో పెట్టాలి, లేదంటే 480 పిక్సెల్స్ కంటే ఎక్కువ ఉంటే మీకు లెటర్స్ అన్నీ కూడా క్లియర్గా కనిపిస్తూ ఉంటాయి. అలాగే లైవ్ చాట్ మాకు పైన కనిపిస్తుంది, ఇబ్బందిగా ఉంటుంది అంటే లైవ్ చాట్ని డిజేబుల్ చేసుకునే ఆప్షన్ మీ దగ్గరే ఉంటుంది, అది కూడా మీరే చూసుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంటుంది. సో ఇలాంటివి చాలా ఇష్యూస్లో నెట్వర్క్ ఇష్యూస్, మీ దగ్గర నెట్వర్క్ ఉండి మీకు సరిగా రెజల్యూషన్ రాకపోయినా ఏదైనా సమస్య ఉన్నా కానీ అది అందరికీ అలాగే ఉంటుందని మీరు భ్రమపడాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. సో ఈ ఇబ్బంది సమయాలలో మేము ఈ ప్రయత్నాన్ని మనందరి కోసము మీ అందరి కోసం మేము చేస్తున్నాం. దయచేసి ఈ ప్రయత్నాన్ని అర్థం చేసుకుని సహకరించాలని మరీ కోరుతూ టుడే Monishita H. Pande ma'am, Dr. ma'am, really amazing presentation, and really I love the kids, those who are participated in the discussion, nicely participated, and you made a demo session, no? With that really the topic understood very nicely to all the teachers. Thank you very much, madam. Thanks for your second session, and thank you అండి మీ అందరికీ. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ మ్యామ్. అందరికీ కూడా ప్రత్యేకమైన ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ ఉన్నాం.